We got a one take here at the end of Monday. I'm back. Went over to Larissa's tonight for dinner. We had CPK. I guess they delivered. It wasn't takeout. CPK, and then we watched some Schitt's Creek. Anyways, today shop day. Of course, it's a weekday. Not taking any more days off right now. Going to the pool, playing hooky. Productive day by and large. Working on the steel gray M5. That's the I think it's an 02. Maybe it's an 01. I don't even know. There's too many of them. They all run together. So we were going to do front pads and rotors per customer request. Upon further inspection, they aren't too bad, so he's just going to pay me for the parts now. We're going to defer that labor and use it towards some other jobs. In the meantime, we have other jobs to do. So I've got to do plugs, I've got to do valve cover gaskets, rear pads, those were quite low and worn unevenly, and evaporative purge valve, oil pan gasket. So I'm not going to go too long. I got the valve covers off today, not really too much of a problem there. Look like aftermarket gaskets. They put freaking gasket maker everywhere, totally unnecessary, yet they were leaking. Got those off, and that's it. You know, upper plenum off, lower plenum off, throttle body velocity stacks rather, and the valve covers themselves. Then I did the evaporative purge valve. That's not too bad right there in the valley of the engine. It used to suck. I've gotten way better at that. And then I moved on to plugs. Plugs are easy at that point, as you've already removed all the coil packs. So swap the plugs out for new NGK BR6Q EUPs, whatever those are. Let's see, then what? Got the rear pads done. We went with Urid pads, which are the OE. Maybe Techstar's the OE, but Urid's an OE brand, so I trust them. And the problem started with the valve cover gasket. And the annoying thing about today was with the oil pan. So I removed the lower oil pan, a million 10mm bolts. 3 different sizes, like 20 of one size, 3 of another, and 4 of another size, the longest ones. And I took the pan over and I cleaned it all out. Well, first thing I did was inspect the threads. If they were stripped or close to strip, I'm not going to put time in that pan. So I went over to the sink and, did the degreaser and scrubbed it and rinsed it. Degreaser, scrub, rinse, like 35 minutes. I got this thing looking like new. I was very proud of myself. Did all the hardware and the washers too, which are captive on the bolts. Went back over to the car, got the new gasket, razor blade on the surface, put the new O-ring on the oil level and temp sensor, all the right steps. Installed the pan, torqued all those bolts to spec by hand, got the drain bolt, put a new O-ring on it, or a new crush washer, and you know where this is going next. I put it in there, and I don't even torque these things to 18.5 pounds anymore. It's not necessary. Just snug it down with a ratchet. And as I snug it down, just before I decide to stop turning, because that's enough, it got really easy to turn. So the pan strips out with probably like 4 pound-feet of torque on it. So here I have spent all this time getting the gasket the pan all clean, all the hardware, like we're gonna reuse the hardware, but got everything in there, perfect, torque to spec, put the drain bolt in, strips out. So I have now learned to install the drain bolt before installing the pan because the risk of stripping out that aluminum drain bolt is just too freaking high. So I've let the customer know. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. There's not much of an option here. I mean, we could try to retap or helicoil those threads. I don't want to do that. That's not worth it. The pan's only $315. So that was very, very frustrating. But I did make progress today. Tomorrow's going to be working on the valve covers, resealing that. I'll give you an update then. Gary's car, the 02 titanium car that we did the shift to tent pins in. Peanut, what are you doing? What are you doing up there? That car's done and essentially ready for pickup. No, it's not. There's 2 things it needs. 1, the DSC light's coming on for steering angle calibration. I've tried recalibrating the sensor, no beans. 2, the exhaust bushings, the center exhaust bushings of the chassis brace are sagging. The exhaust is resting on the chassis brace, transmitting a lot of vibrations into the cabin. Somebody had just crammed a shit ton of washers in there. That's not a good solution. So we're just going to replace those bushings, which are due in tomorrow. So that's tomorrow. I'll get you an update then. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. Peanut says good night. We'll talk on Tuesday. Good night.